So what if the most tragic defeat in the history of Navarre wasn't actually defeat at all?
Right. What if it was something else entirely?
Exactly. Like, what if we've all been completely misreading the board here, and what looked like this catastrophic surrender was actually the launch of the most highly classified, successful covert op ever executed?
It completely flips the script.
It really does. So welcome to today's deep dive. We are tearing apart the ending of Onyx Storm, and if you're listening to this, you likely already have some very strong feelings about Xaden Riorson.
I mean, who doesn't at this point, right?
Oh, for sure. The obvious red, the one that hit everyone right in the gut the first time they read that canyon scene, is that the rebellion just lost its greatest weapon to the darkness.
Yeah, the tragic defeat angle.
Right. Xaden draws magic directly from the earth to save his dragon Skyle and his rider mate Violet from the venin general Berwyn. Then he just disappears into the dark, leaves a cryptic note, and that's it.
But there's a totally different way to look at this.
Yes. Today we are unpacking the Shadow Agent case file from the archives. And the premise here is that Xaden willingly stepped into the darkness because he realized, in that exact split second, that he was the only person capable of fighting the enemy from the inside.
Which, completely upends the narrative framework of the entire series.
Yeah.
If you look at the evidence laid out in this case file, we aren't looking at a soldier breaking under pressure.
No, not at all.
We're looking at a tactical landscape where all the friendlies are suddenly pinging as hostiles. To understand why this theory holds so much water, we really have to look past the raw emotional devastation of that final battle.
Because it is devastating.
Oh, absolutely. But we have to analyze the cold, hard logistics of what actually happened in the shadows. And more importantly, the specific mechanics of the magic system that make this operation even possible.
Because Yarros doesn't write magic without rules. Like, there's always a cost and there's always a mechanical logic to how these powers interact.
Yeah.
So before we can even look at the physical evidence left behind, we really need to get into the head of the operative at the exact moment of transformation. We actually have access to Xaden's final internal thought process during the battle in the canyon.
Yeah, that crucial line.
Right. He thinks, in my final act of resistance, I become the very thing I despise. And I feel like the general fandom consensus is that this is the moment Xaden just loses himself. Like, he's accepting this monstrous fate.
But the case file asks us to look really closely at the semantics of that thought.
Yeah, especially the word resistance.
Exactly. Resistance is the operative word there. If you are surrendering, you don't categorize your action as an act of resistance. You call it a sacrifice, or, you call it a defeat.
That makes a lot of sense.
Right. Resistance implies an ongoing struggle. It implies forward momentum and agency. So the theory argues that by becoming venin, Xaden isn't throwing the fight. He is actually gaining unprecedented, vital access.
Access to the collective consciousness. Because we've seen throughout the sources how the venin operate.
Yeah, they're highly connected.
They aren't just isolated dark magic users. They share this hive mind-like connection with the wyvern they create. They can sense the source of magic in the earth beneath them, and crucially, they can sense other dark wielders.
Precisely. The moment Xaden draws from the earth, his biometric signature, for lack of a better term, changes.
He enters their network.
He does. And if he becomes one of them, he can move among them. He essentially becomes the ultimate insider threat. He reverse engineers the infiltration tactic that the venin have already successfully used against Basgiath.
Oh, you're talking about Jack Barlow?
Yes. Jack Barlow proved unequivocally that a venin can operate completely undetected within the highly monitored wards of a Dragon Rider college.
Which is wild when you think about it.
It really is. I mean, Nolan, an incredibly powerful mender, was trying to mend Jack's soul for months. And arguably, the leadership had no idea Jack was an active dark wielder until he actually brought down the wards.
Right, and Auzen watched that happen.
Exactly. He knows it's possible to mask the signs. He knows you can pass as human, or at least pass as an ally, while fundamentally serving another master.
Okay, I hear the logic, but I'm not fully convinced yet that this was some grand master plan conceived in the canyon. It feels a bit too clean.
Yeah, it was definitely chaotic.
Yeah, let's look at the reality of that battle. Berwyn had Scale trapped in a net. If Skyle dies, Xaden dies. If Xaden dies, Violet dies. And if Violet dies, Terran dies.
It's a literal domino effect of death.
Exactly, threatening everyone he loves. He didn't wake up that morning planning to go deep cover. He was backed into a corner with a gun to his head, and turning was the absolute only tactical out. So are we really suggesting he formulated a master spy operation in a microsecond?
That's a totally fair pushback, and I think we have to separate the initial instinct from the subsequent strategy.
Okay, go on.
The initial act of pulling magic from the earth, yes, that was likely a desperate split-second necessity to stop that domino effect of death you just described. But we really have to remember who Xaden Riorson is.
Right, the son of the great betrayer.
Exactly. He has spent his entire adult life running a covert rebellion right under the noses of the Navarrian generals. He smuggled highly illegal weapons.
Yeah.
He coordinated with griffin flyers who were supposed to be his mortal enemies.
And he maintained a flawless facade as a loyal wing leader the whole time.
Right. So you're saying the moment he survives the canyon, his tactical programming just reboots and takes over.
Like it's just muscle memory at that point.
Exactly. The moment the immediate threat is neutralized and he realizes what he has done, he doesn't just run away to hide in shame in a cave somewhere. His operational mind categorizes his new state not just as a tragedy, but as an asset.
Wow.
He immediately begins setting up the board for his next move. And the proof of this operational mindset is actually in the note he leaves for Violet.
Oh, man, the note that broke 1,000,000 hearts. Don't look for me. It's yours now.
Yeah. On the surface, if you're reading this as a tragic romance, it reads as a gut-wrenching goodbye, like, I'm a monster, stay away, the rebellion is yours to lead, I'm out.
Which is how I think most of us read it the first time.
Of course. But if we read it through the lens of a tactical operative communicating with his second-in-command, the semantics shift entirely. It becomes a direct operational command.
Okay, let's play that out. If it's a command, what is he ordering her to do?
He is directing her to stay put so she doesn't compromise a mission that has just gone live.
Oh, I see.
Think about it. If Violet comes looking for him, what happens? She brings Tarn, she brings the rebellion, she brings a massive, highly visible magical signature right to his location.
Which blows his cover before he can even establish it.
Exactly. It's yours now. Means you hold the fort.
Yeah.
You run the visible war, the one everyone is looking at, while I run the invisible one.
Wow. That actually reframes the entire chapter. It's not a suicide note at all. It's a handover briefing.
Exactly.
And if Actus is handing over the visible war to Violet, she has to immediately secure her own perimeter, which leads us to the most baffling, frustrating piece of evidence in the entire timeline.
The memory wipe.
The thing that has been driving readers crazy. Violet's missing hours. Let's just lay out the facts for you if you're listening. Violet wakes up after the Battle of Dreyfus. She is disoriented, and she realizes she is missing 12 hours of memory.
A huge chunk of time.
Right. And when she confronts Imogen, who we know has the specific intrinsic adjacent signet of wiping recent memories, Imogen doesn't deny it. She outright admits she wiped Violet's memories, and she gives a very specific reason.
She says, what you asked me to.
Yes, what you asked me to.
We really need to pause here and consider the psychological profile of Violet Sorrengail. This is not a character who takes ignorance lightly. She was raised in the archives. She trained her entire life to be a scribe.
Yeah, definitely.
Scribes are the ultimate purveyors, protectors, and hoarders of knowledge. Her father was a scribe. Her entire worldview, her very sense of safety in a violent world, is built on gathering facts.
Right. She literally says to Xaden, I always will prefer the truth. She spent the entire first half of Iron Flame furious at him for keeping secrets. She hates being kept in the dark more than she hates being shot at. So why would a human encyclopedia voluntarily delete her own data?
Because in the intelligence world, you don't erase data to protect your feelings. You erase data to protect an active operation.
Wow.
Violet chose ignorance because remembering the truth would make her a catastrophic liability.
But wouldn't it just be easier for her to lie? I mean, she's learned how to shield her mind. She's been training with Xaden to build mental walls. Why go for the nuclear option of a literal memory wipe?
Because mental shields can be broken. Let's look at the active threats on the board at that exact moment. First, you have Dane Ados.
Right, Dane.
Dane can read memories by placing his hands on someone's temples. Yes, Violet knows to watch out for him now, but in a moment of weakness, or if she's injured, he could access her.
And he's done it before.
Exactly. Second, you have the Navarrian leadership. Violet was literally tortured by Vanish for 5 days. She knows exactly what the leadership will do to extract information.
Oh, that scene was brutal.
It was. And third, you have the venin themselves, who have demonstrated terrifying mental manipulation abilities.
That's a great point. It's like a cryptographic burn. You don't just put a password on the hard drive. You physically destroy the decryption key so that even if the enemy captures the drive, The data is useless.
That's a perfect way to describe it.
She is creating absolute, bulletproof, plausible deniability. If someone reads her mind or tortures her and asks, "Where is Xaden? What is his plan?" she will act with genuine grief and confusion.
Because she genuinely doesn't know.
Exactly. Her physical and emotional reactions will be completely authentic. You cannot extract a secret from a mind that no longer holds it.
Exactly. And we have to look closely at the mechanics of Imogen's signet here, too. Imogen doesn't just leave a gaping, obvious black hole in a person's mind. Or at least she tries not to. She smooths over the gap so the person doesn't realize they've been tampered with.
Right, like blending the edges.
Yeah. So the fact that Violet did realize she was missing time suggests that whatever happened in those 12 hours was so dense, so emotionally and logistically massive, that even Imogen's magic couldn't perfectly stitch the edges of the wound back together.
Okay, so let's speculate. If you're subscribing to the shadow agent theory, what actually happened in that 12-hour window? It couldn't have just been a tearful goodbye. You don't wipe your memory for a goodbye.
No, you definitely don't. Those 12 hours likely contained the formulation of the shadow agent protocol.
The actual logistics of it.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
It was Xaden explaining exactly how far into the dark he intended to go. And crucially, Violet had to forget, because if you know the person you love is actively being corrupted by dark magic behind enemy lines, your overwhelming human instinct is to go pull them out.
You want to save them.
Violet had to remove her own ability to sabotage the mission out of love.
Wow, that is incredibly dark, but it makes so much sense. But it wasn't just talking, right? If Violet wiped her memory to hide a logistical action, that means there was a physical operation happening while she was supposedly unconscious.
Yes, there had to be.
And if we look at the timeline of the text, something massive went missing in that exact same 12-hour window. This is where the conspiracy board really starts connecting with red yarn.
You're referring to the extraction of the dragon eggs from the Erishan hatching grounds.
Yes. Simultaneous to Xaden's disappearance, 6 dragon eggs vanish. Not 1. 6.
It's huge.
The case file connects these two events logically. It labels them Operation 1, extracting the eggs, and Operation 2, inserting Xaden behind enemy lines. Let's talk about the political reality of those eggs first.
Okay, yeah.
In the sources, we see a crucial meeting with the Krovlan Queen. The Queen demands 12 eggs, 2 of each breed, to bring her army to the continent to fight the venin.
And the reaction from the dragons was absolute fury. I mean, Terran growled at the sheer audacity of the request.
Yeah, and Sigil bared her dripping teeth.
Right. Dragons do not trade their young. They do not suffer vulnerability. The Empyrean, the ruling body of dragons, fiercely protects their hatching grounds above all else.
They really do.
They dictate human politics based entirely on what keeps the Veil and the hatching grounds safe.
So, if the Empyrean is that fiercely protective, how do 6 eggs just vanish? You don't just slip a dragon egg into your pocket.
No, they are massive.
Right. And the hatching grounds are warded. This requires bypassing dragon wards, physically moving the eggs, and hiding them somewhere secure enough that neither the venin nor the Navarrian leadership nor the Krovlan Queen can find them.
Which means it wasn't a theft. It was a highly coordinated, internally sanctioned extraction. Someone within the rebellion, likely Violet, Xaden, and their dragons, had to execute this. But we have to ask the mechanical question, why? If Xaden is infiltrating the venin, how does hiding 6 dragon eggs serve his mission?
I was just going to ask that. Are the eggs a bargaining chip? Like, is a Xaden going to the venin and saying, "Hey, I have these eggs, let me in"? That seems wildly out of character. It would enrage every dragon on the continent.
I agree. It's not a bargaining chip for the enemy. It's actually the exact opposite. It's about removing enemy leverage before an operative goes deep cover.
Removing leverage, okay.
Think about the vulnerabilities on the board right now. The venin's entire objective is to drain magic from the earth and from magical beings. Dragon eggs are the purest, most concentrated form of unbonded magic in existence.
Oh, I see. If the Venin command figures out a way to breach Erasia or Basgiath, the hatching grounds are their primary target. They could drain the eggs to power their entire army.
Or worse, they could hold the eggs hostage.
Oh, man.
Right. If the venin hold the eggs, they control the Empyrean. If they control the dragons, the riders are immediately defenseless. The entire Navarrian military structure collapses.
That's terrifying.
It is. If Xaden is going to go into the heart of the Venin army, he needs to know that his home base is as secure as possible. He cannot risk the Venin using the eggs to force him to turn double agent against the rebellion.
Okay, that makes perfect logistical sense. By hiding the eggs, the resistance protects the future of dragonkind. It removes the enemy's greatest potential leverage. Operation 1 secures the future. Operation 2 infiltrates the enemy. And this brings us right back to Violet's memory wipe.
How so?
Because if Violet orchestrated or even just facilitated the moving of those eggs, she is the single greatest security risk to their location.
Oh, definitely.
She couldn't risk anyone extracting the coordinates of the hidden eggs from her mind. Not Dane, not Varish, not a venin interrogator.
Right.
She wipes her memory so she can't reveal the location of the eggs or the nature of Xaden's mission. The entire two-pronged operation relies on her mind being a blank slate.
That is a very solid mechanical link. The logistics of moving 6 dragon eggs would require massive coordination. Scare and Terran would absolutely have to be involved, or at least consenting.
Which explains some of the intense tension and secrecy we see from the dragons in the aftermath.
Exactly. They know what it costs to move their young, and they know what Soken is doing.
But here's where the theory hits a logistical wall that we really need to figure out. Let's say Operation 1 and 2 are successful. Xaden is behind enemy lines. The eggs are hidden. Violet has no memory of the plan, and she thinks Xaden is just lost to the dark.
Okay.
How does a shadow agent actually report back to their handlers without blowing their cover? What good is a deep cover spy who has absolutely no way to send intelligence back to base?
That is the multi-million-dollar question in literally any espionage operation. Communication is always the most dangerous phase. And this is where Yarros brilliantly introduces Violet's second signet.
Dreamwalking.
Yes. In Onyx Storm, we finally get the confirmation of Violet's second signet, the one gifted by her bonded Feathertail and Darna. It is a form of dreamwalking.
Which Xaden confirms is a passive form of intrinsic magic. Let's dig into the lore of intrinsic magic for a second, because it is crucial context for you listening.
It really is.
In Navarre, being an intrinsic someone who can read minds or intentions is an automatic death sentence. The leadership executes them immediately upon manifestation because they are considered too dangerous to the state's secrets.
Right. They know too much.
Yeah. Xaden survived because his variation is reading intentions, not explicit thoughts, and he managed to hide it. But dreamwalking is arguably even more invasive because, as Xaden states in the text, no one's throwing up shields while they're snoozing.
Let's look at how this functions as an intelligence network. Throughout the first 2 books, the mating bond between Terran and Scale, and by extension, the mental tether between Violet and Xaden, has been framed primarily as a romantic, magical convenience.
Yeah, it's how they banter across the quadrant.
Right. It's how they feel each other's emotions, panic, or arousal. But what if the narrative purpose of that bond is shifting? What if it's actually a closed-loop intelligence ecosystem?
It's like having a secure, encrypted satellite phone implanted directly in your subconscious. If Xaden is living among the venin, marching with their armies, sitting in their war councils, and Violet is safely back at the college or in Aricia, they have a completely undetectable line of communication that bypasses all physical wards.
Every shared dream is a covert briefing.
Exactly.
And we already have textual precedent for this shared psychic space.
Mm-hmm.
We know from the sources that Xaden and Violet have been sharing the exact same visceral nightmares of the venin sage.
Oh, really?
Xaden tells her, "You were in my dream." And they realize they aren't just having similar fears, they're experiencing the exact same psychic environment.
Wow.
If Violet's signet allows her to actively navigate that space, she can step into Xaden's mind while he sleeps among the enemy.
She can gather intelligence on troop movements, she can learn the hierarchy of the Dark Wielders, their logistical supply lines, their weaknesses.
All of it.
And she can do it without ever leaving her bed. The venin guards could be standing right outside Xaden's tent, and they would have absolutely no idea he is transmitting top-secret intel to the leader of the rebellion.
It completely circumvents the need for physical dead drops, coded letters, or risky rendezvous. It is the perfect espionage tool.
But hold on. I'm going to throw a massive wrench into this perfect tool. Who is really controlling the signal? Let's look at the mechanics of those nightmares.
Okay, let's look at it.
The venin sage, or General Berwyn, was able to project himself into Xaden and Violet's dreams long before Xaden ever turned. So if the venin can already hack the signal, how secure is this satellite phone, really?
That is a very good question.
Are we sure Violet is gathering intelligence on the venin? Or are the venin using Xaden's compromised state to gather intelligence on Violet?
That is the terrifying variable that makes this theory so compelling. It's not a safe, foolproof plan. It is incredibly volatile. The venin have demonstrated a sophisticated ability to manipulate the subconscious.
Yeah, they have.
The sage explicitly told Violet in a dream, "I know more than you think," right before trying to force her to turn.
Right, so if Aizen's soul is actively being corrupted by earth magic, his mental shields might weaken. The dream space, rather than being a secure briefing room, could actually become a hostile battlefield.
Exactly.
Every time Violet dream walks to him, she might be walking into a trap set by Berwin.
It recontextualizes their entire relationship. Their greatest weapon in the war was never Xaden's shadows or Violet's lightning. It is their connection.
Wow, yeah.
But their greatest vulnerability is also that exact same connection. The line between gathering intel and being brainwashed becomes razor thin when you're dealing with dark magic that actively rewires the soul.
Which brings us to the darkest, most tragic part of this entire deep dive, the cost. The tactical brilliance of this double operation is staggering. But magic in Navarre always requires balance.
It always does.
It does not give without a price. If this is a deep cover mission, the cost of infiltration might be much higher than Xaden or Violet ever calculated.
We really have to look closely at the source lore from the Irids, which is brutal and uncompromising regarding Dark Wielders.
Yeah, it doesn't pull any punches.
The text explicitly states, the power exchange kills the soul one piece at a time, and death has no cure. This is the mechanical reality of the magic system. Becoming venin is not like putting on an enemy uniform that you can just take off when you cross back over the border.
Right.
It is a fundamental terminal corruption of the soul.
It's a terminal disease. And Xaden hasn't just channeled once to save Sigiel in the canyon. The text strongly implies he has already channeled multiple times.
Yeah, Redoc actually points out the math to everyone.
Right. He says there are 4 ranks to Dark Wielders, and your man's already channeled 3 times. Xaden himself admits denial and I don't keep company when discussing the inevitable progression of his condition.
He knows exactly what's happening to him.
He knows exactly what is happening to his body. So what does this actually mean for him operationally? Is he basically an undercover narcotics agent who has to keep doing the drugs he's supposed to be busting just to maintain his cover?
That analogy hits the nail on the head perfectly. To maintain his cover among the venin, Xaden has to act like a venin. He has to draw from the earth.
And pay the price.
Every time he does that, the lore states he loses another piece of his soul. The longer he stays undercover, the more the dark magic rewires his humanity. He might succeed in destroying the enemy from within.
He might gather the intel they need to win the war.
Exactly, and save Navarre. But he may not survive with enough of his soul left to return to the man Violet loves.
He crosses the point of no return. The mask just becomes his face. And the enemy command seems to know this. They aren't stupid. The sage, General Berwin, literally refers to Xaden as a new brother.
Yeah, that's chilling.
They aren't just going to let him hang out in the back of the war room and take notes while they discuss troop movements. They're going to test him. They're going to make him wield.
Oh, for sure.
They're going to force him to prove his loyalty by draining the earth. They have their own plans for him, and every test pushes him closer to total corruption.
And we cannot ignore the catastrophic impact this has on the dragons. Sigiel, Xaden's fiercely protective, incredibly aggressive dragon, is ominously silent following his transformation.
Yeah, she is.
We know from the lore that a venin transformation directly threatens the dragon bond. Dragons channel their magic from the sky, venin pull their magic from the earth. The two forces are violently, fundamentally opposed.
Yeah, Sigiel literally roared in his mind, "Stop! Do not do this to save me!" She knew the absolute cost. She preferred to die rather than have him pull from the earth.
Which is saying something for a dragon.
And later, Terran tells Violet his soul is no longer his own, and coldly refers to Xaden as the Dark One. That is a massive shift in respect from Terran.
It really is.
If Xaden had to sever or severely damage his bond with Scale to sell his cover, or if the bond is just naturally fracturing as a consequence of the dark magic, the psychological toll on both of them is absolutely devastating.
It's heartbreaking.
The sources tell us dragons have died from the sheer emotional pain of losing a rider. What happens to a dragon whose rider doesn't die but slowly becomes the very monster they are sworn to destroy?
It raises the ultimate defining question of the entire series, really. Can a soul survive long enough to destroy the darkness from within?
That's the big question.
The venin general told Violet in her nightmares that she would turn for love. He was certain of it.
Right.
Ironically, of Xaden, who turned for love, he did it to save her and Skyle. But if the shadow agent theory holds, Xaden weaponized that love into a strategic long-term strike.
Wow.
He took the enemy's prophecy, fulfilled it on a technicality, and used it to infiltrate their ranks. But the cost of that brilliant maneuver is his own soul.
It's just phenomenal writing by Yarros if this theory plays out, because it takes the standard, somewhat tired hero falls to the dark side trope and transforms it into a high-stakes, agonizing espionage thriller where the hero is actively choosing his own destruction for the greater good. Let's bring this all together. When we step back and look at all the pieces on the board, the simultaneous disappearance of 6 dragon eggs, Violet's voluntary 12-hour memory wipe by Imogen, the revelation of Violet's dream-walking communication network, and Xaden's final cryptic note telling her to hold the line.
It all points to a staggering conclusion.
It really does.
The evidence strongly suggests that the rebellion didn't lose its greatest weapon on the battlefield that day. It deployed him. Xaden Riorson is a shadow agent, embedded in the dark heart of the Venin army, relying on a woman who has intentionally forgotten the plan to somehow pull him back out when the job is done.
Wow. But I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over, something that builds on everything we've just unpacked today.
Okay.
If Xaden Riorson's greatest act of courage was convincing everyone, including you, the reader, and including his own dragons, that he had become the villain, what happens if the Venin command figures out that Violet is dreamwalking into their war room? Are Xaden and Violet the brilliant spies infiltrating the darkness, or through the insidious corruption of the earth magic and the manipulation of dreams, are they slowly becoming the ultimate double agents against themselves? Could Violet be feeding her own rebellion secrets to a man whose soul no longer belongs to her?
It's a terrifying prospect. In the world of espionage, the ultimate weapon can very quickly become the ultimate vulnerability.
And suddenly, the tactical map we've been looking at isn't just murky, it's terrifying. We thought we were looking at a clean break, a tragic fall of a hero, but we're looking at a covert operation that is deep, dark, and incredibly dangerous for everyone involved. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the archives. The case file on Xaden Riorson remains wide open, and you can bet we'll be watching the shadows closely.